Feedback. We've all been told it is an important aspect of any classroom. We also know it's all too easy to respond with correct or good job when students answer a question in class. Many of us know these responses aren't that helpful. But what should we say instead? In this 5-minute podcast, I am first going to explain why providing effective feedback is necessary in the classroom. Then, I'll give you a series of tips to help you provide meaningful feedback to your students. In case you missed the feedback buzz, here's the lowdown. You should care about giving effective feedback because effective feedback leads to effective learning. In a study conducted by Waypoint Outcomes, students were more engaged and met more learning outcomes when they received good feedback. If this doesn't convince you to care about feedback, I don't know what will. So now I'll get to the good part, how you can make your feedback more effective for students. And remember, you can apply these tips to feedback you give verbally and to feedback you give in written form, like on assignments. So first tip, you should make your feedback specific. In a study conducted at the University of Auckland, 2 professors discovered that the more specific the feedback, the greater the student understood what he was doing right or wrong. Of course, this isn't rocket science, but let's face it, we fail to be specific in the classroom all the time. Second, don't go overboard. On the Center for Innovation in Research and Teaching's website, researchers mandated the importance of the amount of feedback you provide. Feedback should be specific, but it should address big ideas or major concepts specifically. You shouldn't be pointing out every single error and complimenting every single triumph. This is a surefire way to overwhelm students and make your feedback less effective. Third, you should balance positive and negative feedback. In her Inform Ed article, educator Laura Reynolds describes the balance between the two as a feedback sandwich. Compliment, correct, compliment. The big takeaway from this? You should be providing positive feedback twice as often as you are providing negative. Fourth, don't wait. Feedback should be immediate. It's most effective when students can still use the feedback to reach a target goal. Of course, this isn't always possible in a busy, active classroom. But if you can, the sooner you give feedback, the better. Reynolds suggests alternating deadlines in classes to allow yourself a quicker feedback turnaround. She also says you can ask other adults, such as the principal, to provide feedback to the students from time to time. Fifth, make sure you're meeting the needs of each individual student. We all know students have different personalities, interests, and ability levels, so it only makes sense they require different types of feedback. Some students need more of a push, while some need a gentler touch so that they don't get discouraged. Finally, be careful to avoid the following 3 feedback misfires, as identified by psychologist Edward Deci. 1. If learners feel too closely monitored, they will start to feel nervous and become less intrinsically motivated to learn. 2. If learners feel like the feedback is an attempt to control them, they will see suggestions as something they have to do and not as a guidance tool. And 3. If feedback in a group situation makes learners feel like they are competing against one another, they might disengage from learning. So how can you avoid these feedback misfires? Simply explain to the student the purpose of the feedback, Deci says. When you're honest and upfront to students about the purpose, it'll be harder for them to misconstrue your feedback. So hopefully you now understand that feedback is important, really important, in the classroom environment. To help your students learn, make your feedback specific, balanced, and timely without going overboard. And to avoid the pitfalls of feedback, always explain to your students its purpose.